Hey, hi everybody, this is Lou Adler. I was actually expecting somebody from Jobvite to say that we've started, but I gather that's not true. If anybody from Jobvite there, just say we're ready to begin and go for it, Lou, and then I'll be ready to go for it.
Good morning, everybody. Lou, you should go for it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ann. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody. This is Lou Adler. That's actually, we practiced that for 3 hours, that little bit of introduction right there. What I want to do today is talk about the rise of the virtual talent community. And I have a different perspective on this than I think most people have. And if you've been to any of the workshops I do, you know I kind of take a different perspective of everything. But I am probably, and I would say that's a pretty safe bet, the oldest person on this call. In fact, I would bet, and if you were born after 1978, I became a recruiter before you guys were even born. Now, I did that at a big conference with about 500-600 people a couple, 3 weeks ago, and I asked that question. I said, if you were born after 1978, raise your hand. And unfortunately, half the audience raised their hand, so it was kind of depressing. So I won't even ask that question today, but you get the point. But I want to start off, let me go through the agenda. Then I'm going to kind of go through, and some of you remember the early days of recruiting and sourcing, and if you don't, I'll kind of give a quick overview. That's what I kind of want to do, walk through history, just to bring you up to speed of where we are today. And I've been there. I've been through, at least for the last 30-plus years, doing this stuff. But I want to get at the point, and at least part of it is understand the concept of early bird sourcing. And it becomes more important. The concept of that is you got to get good candidates before anybody else, particularly passive candidates or even active candidates. You got to get them on the day they enter into the market. If you don't, you're scrambling. And I believe the virtual talent community actually allows people and companies to do that, really get people the moment they enter the market or before, which is pretty cool. I also believe that what Facebook is doing, Jobvite is doing with Facebook is a tool for you to build your own virtual talent community. So that's pretty effective as well. Then we're going to rank you. I'll kind of describe what I have here on the right, the social media pyramid. And we'll rank you where you're novice, minimalist, progressive, up to maybe a world leader. So we'll go through that at the end. I'll kind of describe this stuff, and I'll go through the ranking system. And then I actually would like you to put in the chat area where you rank based on those descriptions. So we'll kind of go through that, and then that's basically what we're going to be doing. I'll introduce you to the social media period. Then we'll have an action plan to become a Maven. What do you have to do to get to the top of the heap? The handout is listed there. I think it's on the next slide as well, so hopefully you've downloaded the handout and you can follow it in real time. Excuse me. Let me give you a walk through history, though, so you just got a feel for it. And this is when I started, literally, when I started as a recruiter in 1978, jobs were posted like that on the newspaper. They were big, giant company. Actually, they're big branded pages, and Thursday and Sunday were the big pages in the Wall Street Journal and the Times, the big display ads. And I, as a recruiter, would call those companies up. Hi, you're looking for 5 mechanical engineers. I get on the phone and call them. Hey, I got 3 mechanical engineers. You want to talk to them? And it was easy. I mean, Monday, I'm going through the papers on Sunday, and I had 20 leads the next day. It was interesting, though. Now, that was how I started initially. They were only running that Sunday. Next week, they were gone. So if you, as a candidate, didn't look on that Sunday, it was over. It was a one-time deal, and you had to be pretty hungry to find it. And it wasn't 24/7. I, as a recruiter, had the opportunity to, but a lot of people didn't respond. There was no way to keep track of it. I, as a recruiter, had people who might have called me 3 weeks earlier, a month earlier, 2 months earlier. So it was, the essence of the recruiter was you could bridge time. That was cool. You had all these people that weren't looking at that moment. So it really became a hidden job market to some degree and a hidden candidate market. Things started changing, though, with job boards. Now, all of a sudden, it was 24/7. They were always there 24/7, so it wasn't just a one-time thing. And that's really what a job board did. But what they also did, which was worse, is they were boring. They posted job descriptions. Newspapers never posted job descriptions. Never. They either had a little 2x2 classified ad, or they had a big page. They never posted job descriptions. The stupidest thing to ever happen was post a job description. And it was caused by Monster and Career Builder. They wanted to sell job descriptions. The law never said you had to post job descriptions. They now changed the law to try to follow what a stupid idea was. But it was stupid to post job descriptions. It's still stupid to post job descriptions. Now, in the late 90s, people said, hey, now we got job boards, let's add contract recruiters. These were researchers who did sourcing primarily. Then, in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, the aggregators came together and said, hey, you don't really have to go to a job board. We'll scrape all your postings in, and you come to us and we'll aggregate all these job postings. What it was really a Google for job boards. Now, Google's doing that. I mean, you really think about it. You can find the same, Google is the aggregator of the aggregators. Then 2005, 2006, search engine optimization, search engine marketing came along, jobs to web led that craze. Talent Hub said, let's put a page up for each thing. Let's put, we're still posting boring jobs though, which dumbfounds me, but we're still posting boring jobs. But now is a different way to let's build a talent pool of active candidates. So let's be real frank. If somebody's going to follow you, they're active candidates. They might be kind of have a job, but they're still kind of saying, yeah, I'm going to be part of it. Now we have all the social media started emerging in the last 2 to 3 years. And we got the what I call 360 network, virtual talent pools. I'm going to go through all this stuff today. And we're back to the phone. A little different phone. Up in the upper left, we got, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. It actually plugs into the wall. It's got buttons on it. You pick it up and talk to it. Now, yeah, it doesn't plug in the wall. Pretty cool. You hold it in your pocket. You can do all that stuff now. But what's interesting is the common theme is they're still boring. But we can connect with everybody we want with boring material. And I'm making that statement because underlying all of this, back in the olden days, postings weren't boring. There wasn't enough information to be boring. It was a 2x2 ad. Or it was a full display ad which said, hey, we're looking for 5 mechanical engineers, 2 project managers, 100 welders. It was these big, giant display ads. So we're doing some things a heck of a lot better, but underlying it, we're doing some things some worse. So this is where we stand, the rise of the virtual talent community. And what I'm going to contend, Jobvite is really the glue that holds a lot of this stuff together. So I'm really proud that they're a sponsor, and I'm glad that I can participate in this webcast. But now I want to kind of take all of this stuff where we are today and put a strategy behind it. But the strategy is going to be is let's understand our candidate or our prospect. And that's very important. I don't think we really say, let's go back to old-fashioned marketing. Let's understand our customer. What do they want? And the customer in this case is a top person who's either looking, and if the top person is looking, I guarantee they got multiple offers, and if they're a top person not looking, you got to really pull them out. This line basically shows the satisfaction curve of a fully employed employee. The far left, let's assume that, in fact, put yourself on this line. So let's take the ride together. You're on this blue line. You just started with a company, which is over on the far left. Hey, it was a good job. You're excited. You got the job. And let's say you decided you're fully employed and you took another job. Well, hopefully you took the right job. If it was good, you're growing, you're learning, you're making an impact, you like the people, you're highly satisfied. I mean, that's pretty cool. In the far left, I'll call it, let me just kind of put this down here. And this, I'll get all the numbers in a moment here, but I'll call these the super passive people. After the time, and this is on the horizontal axis, job might decline slightly, but not to the extent that you're going to leave. It's just you're a little less satisfied. The allure of the honeymoon is over. I call these people explorers because they answered yes to this question. Hey, would you be open to explore a situation was clearly superior to what you're doing today? I'm going to give you the statistics on how many people have said that. We took a survey, actually did one last year and just recently updated, so I got the preliminary numbers. 4,550 people. We asked, would you be open to explore a situation with clearly superior? We had a lot of people who said yes. If the job, let's go back to your ride on this blue line. Another 6 months, year takes place, job doesn't get any better. You know, the market's not great, but you said, you know, I got a couple of good friends at this company and that company and this company. I'm going to contact them. We call those tiptoers. They're only contacting people they personally know who they worked with in the past. Tiptoers. Then we got people, hey, this job, I can't take this job anymore. Don't like my boss. The company's going south. I'm doing the same thing for the last 2 to 3 years. You then start searching. That's where you go to the aggregator or the search engine. If that doesn't work and you start getting more desperate, you hear, hey, our company's cutting back, you start networking with people you don't know. Tiptoers only network with people they know who are highly regarded and give them a good referral. Networking with everybody is the next phase. And then you say, okay, I'm going to hunt. I'm doing whatever I can. I'll network. I'll go online. I'll find jobs. I'll go to company sites. I'll spend 3 hours every day sending my resume out. Well, that's human nature. Let's just kind of take a look at it. The people on the far left, super passive, according to our LinkedIn survey, 28% said not looking for a job. However, 75% of that 28% said that they'd happy to talk to a recruiter for networking purposes. So not still a worthy market. 40% said they were explorers. They weren't looking at all, but would take a call from a recruiter. 15% said they were slightly looking, a couple of times every 2 to 3 times a week, maybe 2 to 3 times a month, but only contacting people they know. 9% said they were either searching or networking, and 8% said they were hunting. When you look at it, though, 83%, excuse me, 83% said you had to contact them. Either they had to know an employee and they were contacting, or you had to contact them through an employee, or you had to call them up. That's 83% you wouldn't find through traditional advertising. That's the early bird you want to go after. But these 83% are looking for something different. Super passives aren't looking at all. But if you want to call an explorer and say, hey, you open to talk about something that's better than what you're doing today, it better offer a career move. A boring job description won't cut it. Tiptoers, they already got a good job. They're only talking to network. So you better have a better job. A searcher is now starting outbound, so they're starting to, their job requirements are diminishing, excuse me. I'll take a good job. I'm not going to take anything. I'm a good person. I'm not going to take anything. Networkers will take a lateral transfer. They've already decided, hey, from an economic need standpoint, lateral transfer is pretty cool. A hunter, if for some reason they have an economic need, they'll take any job. The point of this slide is recognizing all the social media stuff we have. We have a way to get to explorers and tiptoers through our employee networks, however, or recruiter networks. However, you can't offer boring jobs. Now, here's what I would suggest. As a fundamental, obvious sourcing strategy, you want to target early birds. But the workflow for early birds is different than a workflow for active candidates. And you can't apply an active candidate workflow to a passive candidate marketplace. And right there, if you're frustrated not finding enough passive candidates, I can tell you you're using a workflow that doesn't map. And the workflow is as simple as how do you make the call, what do you do the next step, what's the ad you send to the person, how do you engage with the hiring manager, a bunch of different stuff. Workflow on the left is different than the workflow on the right. To find out how well your sourcing is doing, you can just do this quick test, start this afternoon. Start asking every single person you talk to how long they've been looking. If they're passive, they'll say, I'm not looking, you called me. If they're active, they'll say, oh, I've been looking 2 to 3 weeks. You're not doing too good. If they say, I just started looking, and as soon as I started looking, I found you. If you find people on day one who enter the market to 17%, I mean, I wouldn't suggest that that's all you do, but if you're only going to target active candidates, you better have a strategy to get them on day one. But if you're going to go after the 83% who aren't looking, and I've recruited plenty of passive candidates, plenty of passive who said they're absolutely not looking, good recruiters get them to look. But you can't sell them, you can't have them apply, you can't have them come in for an interview. All you can do is sell a discussion, not a job. A discussion to see if what we have here, and I'll give you an example of a woman who at one of our, I think it was our webcast last week we did, I volunteered to say, what would be a great email that would be selling a discussion? I think I have it on this deck and I'll show it to you later on. But it's very cool how she sold a discussion and how she would target those who were explorers. So let me kind of now introduce some social media concepts here. Again, 83% are outbound, early birds, explorers, tiptoers, and super passive. 17% are inbound. In my mind, when you think about everybody's technology who's building talent pools or groups or followers on Twitter, they're going after searchers. Now, these searchers might, quite frankly, they might have found them 3 months, 6 months, a year ago. If they have their resumes, they're probably not now following the company anymore. But you still have, you might have some resumes that actually would say, hey, these are passive candidates. At least they were in the last year or so. A virtual talent community, however, targets explorers and tiptoers. And you create it through your employee referral network. I am going to show you exactly how to create a virtual talent community of passive candidates that you own. And I'm going to contend whoever has the deepest network of passive candidates will win the war for talent in 2012, 2013, 2014. I don't know what's going to happen after that. Although I have a sense of it, it's too premature to even mention at this moment. Let me stop right there because I want to show you now what you have to do to build a virtual talent community, because I'm going to contend that's the deal breaker, and Jobvite is really the glue that allows you to build it. Any questions have come in yet, Ann, that were worthy of conversation or a response?
We did have one, actually, when you were talking about the different workflows for the early bird candidates versus the searchers. And maybe you're about to get into that, but people wanted more detail on that, and also asked, are there actual different skill sets that we need to have in our organizations for the people working on these two workflows?
Oh, absolutely. No question. Well, I'm going to mention some of this. Certainly, in fact, let me do this. Let me make an offer to people. If you would like to get a sample of our Recruiter Circle of Excellence, which is a competency model for recruiters, working in either the best active and the passives, send me an email, Lou, send it to info@adlerconcepts.com, info, and say, Lou, I'd like a copy of your recruiter competency model. That'll get to it. But the essence of it is, if you're in the active, you got to design everything to get people on day one. If you're going after the passives, you better know the hiring manager, you better know the job, you better understand how to plant the seed, sell the next step, not the job, get into a career discussion, be able to position your first 15-minute screening call into while it's a career discussion, you're also real-time evaluating the candidate and looking at your job and saying, hey, is this a career move or not? If it's a career move, you're going to recruit the person. If the person's too high or too low, you're going to go on LinkedIn and start networking with that person and start developing, getting referrals, pre-qualified referrals. So yes, there's a host of things different. I'll give you some ideas on how to do that. But that's a 8-hour course on how to play the recruiting game on the left-hand side. We offer that 8-hour class, but that's not the purpose of this webcast. But yes, different set of skill sets, and I think you'll get an idea of some of them as we go forward. Great question. Let's develop a sourcing strategy by status, just so you see where we're going. And this is really some of the different workflows, so you'll see that. To develop a virtual talent community, you have to have compelling advertising. It's clearly outbound. You have to have some kind of interactive CRM system, which I'll describe briefly. And you have to be able to leverage your employee referral program. If you're going after explorers, people you call up, you got to call them up. You got to find them. You got to cherry pick their best connections. You got to recruit them. You got to network with them, and you got to PERP squared. I'll explain PERP. PERP is a proactive employee referral program. The idea, and I'll explain this through Jobvite. Jobvite shows you how to connect your jobs to your employees' connections. PERP is proactive employee referral program. The idea is, hey, let's get our employees to connect with the best people they worked with in the past, not just people they know. Proactively build an employee referral network of great people. I'll explain a little bit more about how to do that. Tiptoers, same thing. It's PERP. It doesn't have to be automated. You certainly could be, or deep networking, or find nodes. Project managers know everybody. And a node for me, when I do a lot of work in sales and had done a lot of work in placing sales management personnel. And there was a question raised?
It's recording. Okay.
I'm hearing some noise in the background. Is that intentional or is that inadvertent? Hey guys, I hear noise in the background. Is it intentional or inadvertent?
Oh yeah. No.
Ann, talk to me.
Okay, Lou, we're back.
Okay, I didn't know we lost. What happened?
We had a landline problem at Jobvite, but I believe the audience can still hear you just fine.
Okay, got it. Okay. Make sure you're okay. Yeah, I'm glad you said we can hear. I should have looked at that message. I didn't see it. Sorry, guys, for that inadvertent issue.
Telephone technology seems to be better, so we'll stay on that. Thank you.
Okay. With respect to tiptoers, and I'll kind of explain this, but there is a strategy for each of those. The idea of tiptoers, remember, tiptoers are looking for your employees who they work with closely. So if you get your employees connected with great people they worked with in the past, number one, you can automate it. Number two, you can start having people who are looking find you before they start looking, or at this moment they call, they're going to call one of your employees. If you're looking for a searcher, we're going to call it the hub and spoke, meaning, hey, let's put a landing page. Let's have, it's much easier to find a landing page for all mechanical engineers, and then from that landing page drive people to a specific job. quite frankly, guys, that landing page is no more than 1970s brand, display page in the newspaper. And we're now just putting it online. And I'm also going to make this other statement. Don't post job descriptions for any of this. There's not one single great person I've ever met in 30-plus years who said, yes, I took this job because I want to do exactly the same work for exactly the same pay in exactly the same industry. They never say that unless they have an economic need to take your job. And while there are a few great people who have an economic need to take your job, they generally took, if they had multiple opportunities, they took it because of the better job, which was the career, the growth, the challenge, the chance to make an impact. That stuff should all be written in your ads. Now, on the other hand, if you want to continue to use boring jobs, this is the workflow. If you continue to use job descriptions, all you're attracting are networkers and hunters. I'll say that again. If you continue to use boring job descriptions and post them anywhere, and there's no law that says, no law, I work with the OFCCP and the #1 lawyer in the country at Littler Mendelson, there's no law that says you have to post a boring job. All it says is you have to have somewhere on the job description some set of basic skills. They got to be reasonable, and you have to report. You can put them at the bottom of the list in 2-point type. Nowhere does it say it's got to be at the top of the list, boring, and the rec number has to be at the top. But if you want to, so that to me is the workflow you want to eliminate. Just think about it. A boring job description will only attract average people or good people who have an economic need to take your job. I'm going to give you some examples of how to avoid that. And if you want to attract bad people, just don't even do anything. They'll find you. Don't even post a job. I bet they find you. Being a little bit facetious there. Hopefully you know that I was a little bit facetious there, but not too much. So the theme of this is there is a strategy, a sourcing strategy by each step. And social media is a component of it. But it's not just putting a web page up or a LinkedIn page or a Facebook page and hoping it works. There's a strategy for it. And you got to understand the mindset of your the person you're trying to attract. Marketing. Hey, I want to sell an iPhone to a group of people. I don't think anywhere do you find, at least I haven't found it, where if you're going to buy an iPhone where they have the detailed technical specs, the part number, the chip size, the display size, I mean, it is there, at least the highlights of what some techies want in comparison to others, but you don't get all the software and the code and the detail behind it. You get some high-level detail, but certainly not, and you don't get it first. You get that after you decided to buy. But in HR, we said, no, let's put out a boring job description. We assume people will come. And then the override to that, the big Band-Aid to that is, we have a great employer brand. Let's just use our employer brand. But you still have boring jobs. I mean, the good employer brand, nothing wrong with that, but to have an employer brand and then have it drive people to boring jobs makes no sense. It just you haven't solved the whole problem. Now I want to kind of make a statement here. Now this is a bit not technical, but I really want to kind of define what I call an out-in network versus an in-out network. And I know it sounds corny, but it's very important. Let me just say, if you have, and a lot of technologies come out in the last year or so, where people can connect with, job seekers can connect with your employees. I call that an out-in network, meaning a candidate has come to your company, they see a list of potential employees, and it's a good thing to have, but it's still an out-in network, good thing to have, but you got all these little people, little dots. These green dots, let's assume they represent people, and the black dots at the center of this node represent your employees. So these are your employees, these are your employees. The likelihood that a good person who is looking is going to find your employees is problematic. Not bad, and you certainly have to do it, but you're not fishing in a big pond. An in-out network starts with your employees and goes outbound. That says, oh, okay, we got a great job. Who in your network, this employee right here in this upper left, hey, you got 100, 300, 500, 1,000 people in your network. Which are the best ones that could fit this job? That's an in-out network. Start with a rec, go to your employee, and look at that employee's networks. Jobvite and LinkedIn both have tools to do that. In-out network. They also have tools for out-in network, but that's not nearly. That's why I call that networking to the nth power. An out-in network, rec to employee to coworker, is an out-in and powerful. Excuse me. That's an in-out network. And now I'm getting confused here. It's in-and-out burger is how I have to think about it. You go from the job rec to the employee to the that employee's coworkers versus a candidate looking, finding an employee they know, hoping to get a referral. One's very inefficient, one is elegant. The in-out network is elegant. And I think what's also great about an in-out network, and because I'm going to show you now how to create these in-out networks, is think beyond employees in engineering who know other engineers. Think about your employees who might know consultants. Think about your employees in marketing who might know engineers. Think about your people in purchasing who might know salespeople. When you start thinking beyond peer-to-peer and think cross-functional 360 cross-functional teams, you've just expanded your network an infinite level, or an nth level, whatever that may be. But it's totally different. So when you think about the mathematics of networking, an out-in network, candidates trying to find jobs through employees, you're still going after active candidates, guys. An in-out network, cross-functional peers or cross-functional people, consultants, lawyers, accountants, public accountants, all that stuff, you've just created a huge, huge network. And what I basically say, and this is what I say about LinkedIn, I don't care about, LinkedIn to me isn't 120 million names. It's a list of people who are only 1 degree of separation from the person I want to hire. Because they're connected. I don't look at LinkedIn as looking up names, although I look up names. The issue is I call somebody up. Hey, I know you've been in marketing for 4 years at Cisco. I bet you work with 3 or 4 top engineers who are doing advanced router design. And if you develop a relationship with a person, then you can just look at their LinkedIn connections and find those people. So I just want you to think about this. Now we kind of get a little bit more specific with respect to an inside-out auto-connect network. So here's an outside-in component first. Let me just show you that, and then you'll kind of get an experience of it. Job Hunters looks for employees to refer them. Active candidates. So somebody goes to TiVo, they see a job for a corporate communications manager, they click on this little button that says, here's the LinkedIn connections you have. That's an out-in network. Candidate to employee, hopefully to the job. And it's okay. Nothing. You got to have it. That's step one. You got to have that to be in a minimalist almost, maybe a progressive. That's where you are in a progressive. And you get people. An inside-out network, though, starts with an open job. I got a job here. I got my job. Awesome UI engineer. And it identifies people connected to your employees. Your employees are then notified hey, that you have an opportunity. You have 3 or 4 or 5 people whom you're connected to who might be interested in this job. Now, Jobvite has just introduced a Facebook app that does that more automatically, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment here. But at least you get the sense that this is an inside-out network. And as it gets automated, I call it square. It's square. You know, it's automated. That's what I mean by square. You don't have to necessarily do everything manually. It tells you call your employee up. They're not going to know. But if they says, hey, if the list of 7, hey, here's 7 people who could be good for this job, who would you recommend? It's pretty cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So that's an inside-out network, and it's starting to get automated. Any connect, and then through Jobvite, you can send them a Jobvite, which is, hey, Bill, this might be an interesting job for you. And I'll give you a couple of examples of those. And any thoughts, comments, and questions as we hit the bottom of the hour? Dan, I guess we can't hear you.
Yes, I can hear you, Lou.
Why don't you send me a question? Oh.
You had a question that came up a little bit ago, but I think it's a good question. You cited the need for compelling advertising. Where do you recommend compelling advertising be placed?
Great question. I'll give you a couple of examples. A voicemail, an email, website, job description, to everywhere. Don't use job description. The actual job posting itself should be a compelling advertising. We have a whole course on that. If you go to our website, you'll see events. We're always showing stuff on advertising. There's a lot of articles I've written, but an example. I have a couple of examples here. I think I have a couple of now. I just don't remember which one I'm doing here. I believe I have a couple of examples, but it's anything. Anytime you're talking to a candidate, you have to have a compelling ad. The ad could be a voicemail. Could be an email. I know I got an email which will kind of give you a sense of it, so it's still a great question. I want to kind of talk a little bit about this dynamic networking to look at, hey, you only have to find people by 1 degree of separation, show you how Jobvite does it, and kind of give you an example of an ad. The idea is, who would know my candidate? This is from a sourcing standpoint. Again, my perspective is I don't have any problem getting on the phone. And if you had to say what the difference in workflow for a corporate recruiter dealing with passive candidates versus active candidates is, you better be comfortable on the phone. You better know the hiring manager. You better know the job. You better know your industry. You better know your company. You better know the competition. You've got to be a subject matter expert. You have to be someone worth knowing. And a candidate says, hey, I just want to network with you. They check you out on LinkedIn or Facebook. Oh, yeah, you're somebody I should know. That's important. And if you don't have that game, you're just going to be pushing a lot of, you're just going to be dialing for dollars, hopefully one sticks. What I do when we initially take an assignment, or when I recommend anybody takes an assignment, who knows my candidate? Peer-to-peer, I don't care. It could be cross-functional team. Did anybody mentor my candidate? Hey, I've talked to partners just in the last, I've got a bunch of financial searches I'm dealing with, executives. I just called partners up in the local area at the Big Four. Hey, I've got the search assignments, a senior level executive spot. Any of your alumni be interested? I got of about 80 emails. I probably got 40 responses and 10 phone calls. Every single one of them connected with me on LinkedIn. Well, I'm a reasonably credible recruiter, so they connected with me. But I know that partners have people they've mentored. Obviously, coworkers that might not be peers. Did they use any outside advisors? If I need a product marketing person, I have no problem calling the top agencies in the country. I've called people at IDEO and Frog to find design engineers who they've worked with in the marketing. I just call outside. They tell you these people. In fact, you can look on anybody who works at Frog, any of the marketing reps who work there, they're dealing with their clients, so they know lots of people. I talk to vendors and customers. I called Home Depot and talked to the buyers there to get great people of industrial hand products. LinkedIn groups, obviously. Nodes, who's well connected? Well, salespeople are well connected. Project managers are well connected. So I just call those people up and start connecting with them and start looking on their connections. LinkedIn is a great tool for that. Facebook started to become, and I actually think Facebook's a terrible tool for it until Jobvite came along. I mean, literally, and you'll see this in a minute, I just am awed by what Jobvite has done here. Google Plus, I'm sorry guys, anybody from Google on this call, I don't see it. Number one, I have an enterprise Google account, so I can't use it for that. And I already got Facebook, and I don't need anything else. I just need people to connect. I don't need another tool for connections. I need automating these connections. But I use Twitter as a driver, so I don't mind having Twitter followers. That's a good communications device to push out. So let me kind of define a virtual talent community and then some messaging for it. Virtual talent community. It's a cross-functional, and maybe even internal, external to the company, 360 in-out network. In, job rec to employee to great coworkers. It's perked. Get your employees to proactively connect with the best former coworkers. So just start this afternoon. I bet if I asked most of you guys in this thing, maybe we'll do this in your company, how many of you have your employees proactively connecting with the best people they worked with in the past? And I can't see the answers to this, but if people say yes to that questionnaire and just start telling me. When I audit companies, I said, tell me about your employees, who they connected to. You talk to 20 employees, most of them just have their old friends and old coworkers. They didn't look at, and of course they wanted to connect with business relationships, but they didn't proactively connect with best people. I know there's one woman who's a daughter of a great neighbor of ours we've known. She's connected with everybody. She proactively makes sure she's connected with every person she's worked with in the past. She's doing this for 8 years. As soon as LinkedIn, she says, I'm working with every great person I've ever talked with. I know she got a job about 2 years ago through that connection. This was 5 years in nurturing, but start thinking about it. Most networks are kind of haphazard. But if you as a company have a strategy, hey, we want to drive our employee referral program to the next degree, is get your employees to start connecting, because all this stuff is being automated. You must have engaging and differentiated content. Emails, CRMs, if you haven't, that's why this interactive CRM, which is, I've just highlighted, you can't just send out boring emails. They got to be compelling. It's got to be managed. And as it becomes auto connections, once you post the job, it automatically gets fed to these best people. All of a sudden, hey, now I'm in the game here. Now that's a virtual talent community. It's taking social media, putting it on steroids. As one level, that's the technology. From the workflow process, the companies and recruiters have to get your employees connected with these best people. From another workflow standpoint, you have to have great advertising driven to these people. Remember, they're not looking. from another workflow standpoint, you have to have recruiters be able to call these people and have a workflow that doesn't push the person for the job. I tell the recruiters I train, if you're going after the passive candidate recruiters, don't sell the job. Sell the next step. Hey, I'd just like to talk to you 10 or 20 minutes, so that makes sense. This is a career move. Hey, great, I really like your background. Why don't we spend, this looks like it could be, why don't we spend another half hour later today when it's convenient to talk in more depth? Hey, how would you like to, if I can arrange an exploratory call, phone call with the manager, 30 minutes the next day or two, how would you like to do that? Hey, we'd be open to, if you're serious enough, we'd like to bring you in on site. It's a serious sequence of 6 or 7 steps. And if there's a relocation involved, you can double the number of steps and double the number of engagements with managers and the manager's boss. But think about it as a sequence, and what does the person need, not, hey, do you want to relocate to Timbuktu? Don't think of it that way. Think about it, I just sell in the next step. Now, you'll lose people along the way, but if you start with 100, even with a relocation, you'll get down to 10 or 15 at the end, versus, hey, would you relocate to Timbuktu? You'll get 1 in 100 maybe. One's 15 times more efficient than 1 in 100. That's the power of a virtual network combined with good workflow. Thoughts or comments there? I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to give you an email that I challenged somebody last, excuse me. I'll give you an email that really, to me, was the right kind of messaging for dealing with a virtual talent community. And any questions have come in?
We do have a couple great questions. One is, I love the concept of inside out and perp. How do we ensure that employees are equipped with the skills to network effectively with potential candidates?
That's an excellent question. I would say that, and I think you've got to be careful. What I would do is pilot it first. We've done this before. Take some of your good employees, sit them in a room. Let's say, hey, you got a high level of marketing needs in Q1 and Q2. That's why workforce planning is good. Hey, we know we're going to be building up our marketing organization or engineering. Bring a couple people in a room who you think are really talented or good, and say, hey, we got this, we're going to be hiring 20 X number of these people. We want to develop a process. We want to leverage your network using Jobvite and LinkedIn. We'll come up with some messages. We want to just work, and I would actually build a workflow with the people who are going to be doing the work. Try it out, and then when you pilot it, we got it working with good people. You know, good people are already connected with other good people. Should you restrict it to that? That's a internal political decision. There are other employees, so maybe you don't restrict it, but once you get the process figured out through good employees and your message is figured out, now you can roll it out company-wide. So that's how I would kind of handle that. Test it, all the stuff you're testing, even with messages. If you guys know me, you can't believe the stuff that I did that was so stupid, in retrospect was dumb. But I tested 100 things for every 2 that I tell people. I'll try this, I'll try that. Doesn't matter. Nobody's going to know. Only person, if it doesn't work, nobody knows it didn't work. That's how you market test stuff. Next, another question, Ann?
Yeah, here's one. I like your proactive approach to targeting candidates and connecting with them. How do you do that in a situation where you've got a higher volume of hires to place?
Okay, let me make this statement here. I don't know that has anything to do with this course, but I'll tell you how I do it. Number 1, I have better messaging. Number 2, if I have too many people, so I have a better job. Hey, we're looking for a product leader to launch 50 new iCloud apps to integrate with both the Amazon Fire Kindle or Kindle Fire and the iPad. Great new product. We've got multiple apps. We're looking for a product manager to launch it. Biggest thing is you got to be able to launch in an entrepreneur environment under pressure. We got to launch 12 new apps a quarter. Never been done in history before. If you're interested in that, call us. That would be kind of the ad at some rough level. If I get too many people, I say, hey, like your resume, Joe, Bill, Kathy, Sarah. Step 2 in our process is put together a half-page write-up of something you've done where you've really launched a bunch of software technology apps in the consumer marketplace. The best thing you've done that's most comparable. Put a half-page write-up together, and we'll get back to you soon if it makes sense. So I would just send an email to everybody as a 2-step application process. So again, there's no law that says you have a 1-step application. We do this all the time, 2-step application. You can actually put that component in the original ad if you want, but I've worked with Littler Mendelson on that. Can you have a 2-step and be OFCC qualified? Of course. No, because the candidate, if they don't follow step 2, they've opted out of the process. I mean, that's if you want to get OFCC techie stuff here. But that's how I would, and I've been doing that since email came out in '92. I just send a bunch of emails. Hey, it sounds like you got a good resume. If you're interested, do this. So but they're nothing to do with this. That's just common sense of how you narrow down a group of people. Let me kind of show you this ad. I'm going to let people read this because it wasn't a contest, but a woman came back, and last week I had a contest. I'll do this week. If you guys think you have compelling emails or ads, send them to me, and I'll take a look at them. And again, info@adlerconcepts. Well, I did something like that. It was a smaller group here. I said, send me an email. And she didn't. The first one was a little too vague in general. Then she came back, what do you think about this one? I really liked it. But that's the concept to sell the next step, not the job. Why don't you just read it, and people can comment or ask questions about it. And if you have any comments coming in, thank you. You can use your corporate Google for G+. Okay, I'll try it out then. Whoever sent me that, I appreciate that because I didn't get that email. It was very frustrating. But if that's the case, I'm okay. I'll try it. And I will retract my statement. I don't need it. So I will try to be open-minded. So we're reading this email. My reaction to this was the first one. She sent me one that was pretty typical. Hey, we're Citrix. We have this, and this. We have a lot of opportunities. I saw your background on LinkedIn or Facebook. I thought we should connect. If you're interested, call me. And if you're not interested, who do you know? It was referrals. So I told her, don't worry about referrals in the first thing. Just get the person to talk to you. You can network with them, and you get them on the phone. That's all I basically said to her. I gave her some other things. Make it more interesting. Include the employee value proposition. What's in it for the candidate? Emphasize what's in it for the candidate. She then came back that afternoon, came with this. That's great. I almost was going to hug the person virtual. I thought it was just really a cool email. But that, to me, she got it. Now, I said the reality of it is, if it doesn't work, it's useless. That's where I go back to the testing. Send it out. Put a posting. Do a short version of a Twitter feed for that. Now you're starting to connect with people and just track your rate, the before and after. Do both. Send 20 of these types of emails to people you want and 20 of your old style and see which one gets a better reaction. I have not heard because this only happened like 2 days yesterday. No, today's Thursday, so it happened Tuesday. So I thought it was cool. I wanted to embed it here. Any comments or questions on this email? But we have just a few more minutes, and I have a few more points I want to make. But that's how I would kind of summarize the essence of advertising. That kind of is a template.
I think that email was a great answer to the questions we were getting about providing examples of engaging differentiated content.
Right. Well, that's it. I mean, I just thought that was pretty cool. Let's kind of go forward. Let me talk about because I do want to kind of spend a few minutes on the social media pyramid and also this new Jobvite app. Here's my social media pyramid of excellence, whatever. I'll come up with some better title than that's the best I can come up with in short notice. If you're a novice, so this is novice using social media. You have basic pages on LinkedIn and Facebook. They're boring. I mean, let me say this. If you have boring job descriptions, you're a novice in any case, no matter how technically sound you are or advanced you are. If you're posting boring jobs, you're only targeting candidates who are looking for lateral transfers. And nobody has ever, in 20 years, nobody's ever proven me different. If you post boring jobs, now, you as a recruiter might intercede and say, no, that's not what it is. That's a lot of work. Why would you do that? But no little differentiation, target average actives. That's the novice. But you're out there. You're not out there, you're not even on the pyramid. Oops, going the wrong direction. A minimalist, you've now started search engine marketing, you have landing pages, the jobs are a little bit better, at least at the landing page. Maybe at the actual job descriptions are still boring. You're starting to leverage your employee referral program. You got a little bit of differentiation, at least at the job level. You got a generic CRM that says bulk advertising to everybody in your following you. And that's a minimalist. You're kind of starting a differentiation process. If you're a progressive, you clearly have developed a landing page for every group of jobs, mechanical engineers, product marketing, and sales reps. It's highly individualized, at least at the talent page level. It's an out-in. You've automated the out-in, meaning candidates can find your employees. You're starting to become candidate-centric, understanding what candidates need, and you're probably getting active candidates on day one and a few passive candidates. You're starting to put a little bit more automation in your CRM, and you have a series of messages at least targeted at a high level to the talent job, and you're starting to do some tracking. You're starting to do some basic metrics. It was interesting. I was talking to Glenn. I was reading some stuff about Glenn Cathy, and he went to a LinkedIn conference where a bunch of executives were talking about metrics. He said it started with 500 people in the room. By the end of it, there was only 150. The importance of metrics. If you guys don't think of the importance of metrics, you're not even in the game here. I mean, not only you have to, I'm thinking of the two linchpins. You have to have a great strategy, it's not to have passive candidates, and you have metrics to see how well your strategy and tactics are working. I mean, one is micro kind of stuff, and the other is macro kind of stuff. But one without the other, you got nothing. So to me, is now progressives are starting to add metrics to how is my social media process working in getting candidates, source of their channel sourcing, and quality of hire. Now you're starting to do it. Amazing. Now we're starting to get in the big time. You got compelling jobs. Without that, you can't be amazing. Definitely talent-centric. You're focusing on what do my best candidates need. And even if they're active candidates, you're still focusing on what the best active candidates want. You're finding them first. You definitely have an in-out ERP squared system, meaning it's automated. You have top recruiters, and every job class, at least group, is unique in some way. To be world-class, deep perp squared. Everything. You've got your coworkers on the game. Every new hire is coming in. They're finding great people. They're connecting with them. You got a virtual talent community. You have an interactive CRM, meaning interactive. This is the new wave of stuff, guys. And I guarantee nobody's got it yet, unless you bought Infusionsoft, or Salesforce might have it, but Infusionsoft is better. It's where you have targeted messages, customized, appears to be customized to the individual candidate. Takes into account his or her job-seeking status, what they're looking for, job classification, and you have a different message goes out based on their response. This is direct marketing to the 9th power, or to the nth power. That's coming, and that's why I said that's the tip of the iceberg that I see coming in a year or two. It's going to make it's almost a virtual recruiter. On top of that, you have to have engaged hiring managers. You can't. Hiring managers have to be totally engaged to bring in passive candidates who are not looking, and 100% differentiation at the job level and everything you do. I have not seen anybody who's at the world leader stage. That's right. Frankly, I haven't found it. If you think you're a maven, tell me, because I'd love to chat with you. I just haven't seen any yet. I've definitely seen progressives who are trying to get to mavens, and a lot of those, not a lot, but they're certainly 10 to 15%, maybe 20%. But because they don't have compelling jobs, and they haven't figured out this in-out ERP squared system, they're falling short here. So that's my take. Let me give you I'm going to go back to that and ask where you rank, but I want to kind of give this job a review, and maybe I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, but I thought this was pretty cool. Jobvite has developed an app for Facebook. I personally didn't like Facebook. I looked, tried to source on it, I said I gave up. So I didn't buy it. But I think now this changes the game. I think it's a game changer. They have an app, so if your company has this Facebook app and is using Jobvite, Jamie, in this case, Jamie Glenn, sees on his Facebook page on the left-hand side the app. He's an employee at this company, Zynga. So now, and he sees every time he logs into Facebook. A job is posted, business operations associate. Jamie sees that there's 3 people he knows who could be appropriate for that job. He sees the messaging. He gets a message that says, hey, there's 3 people in your network on Facebook who are appropriate for that job. He then sends Carlos, and I thought this was as good an ad as that one I showed you before. This one is from an employee to a friend. And to me, it's as good as what that recruiter sent that I showed earlier. Hey, Carlos, this is totally up your alley, man. I think you'd be perfect fit for this role. I say we start our own Friday afternoon happy hour if you get hired. To me, what else do you need? This is a friend who you work with closely. If the person's good, you got it. Then we don't have to go through the rest of the workflow, but the idea is that this is an inside-out network. Job, employee, to coworker, former coworker. It's perped. Now, I don't know if it's perp, but if it's perp, now think about it. Hey, with this tool, yeah, you can perp your Facebook network as well as your LinkedIn network by getting your employees to add their best coworkers. So now when jobs open, your employees know about it. Now, the thing that I would say that is part of the workflow is don't make the person apply. I'll restate that. Don't make, Let them talk to you. Get on the phone. Hey, if you, from Carlos's standpoint, I would have said, hey, Carlos, if you're interested in this, I've arranged a call with my recruiter. You can have a 15, 20-minute discussion, or feel free to call me and I'll tell you more about it. So now you're starting to sell the next step, which is a discussion, not the job. Because it very well could be that Carlos doesn't want that one, but there could be 4 other ones. But by driving the person to apply, you've minimized the chance to leverage the person. Me as a recruiter, if I work at Zynga, I get Carlos on the phone. I didn't even know Carlos. I'm going to put him in my virtual talent community. I'm going to now connect with Carlos and cherry pick his Facebook and his LinkedIn connections. Meaning I'm going to look on LinkedIn. I can actually search his connections and see if there's anybody good. So as a recruiter, I'm looking at this. Oh my gosh, my employees are doing my sourcing for me. That's pretty cool. I mean, to me, I'm the oldest guy in the room. I still get chills on this stuff because I see it hiring great people more quickly, and I don't mind changing the workflow. But as a recruiter, if I'm getting on the phone with Carlos, I better know that job. I better know the competition. I better know why this is a career move. And when I screen Carlos, I'm digging into Carlos's background to see where he's missing stuff. Hey, Carlos, this is a great job, but you haven't managed a team this big. You haven't been in this environment that's doing this technology. I know you're using this technology. We're pushing it to the next degree. I think this is something we should get the hiring manager involved. Hey, if I can arrange a call with the hiring manager, 30 minutes, exploratory, you'd be at least open to chat. Then I call the hiring manager. Hey, I got this guy, Carlos, looks good, a little light in this area, but Jamie thought he was a world-class guy. I think this guy could be a fit. We got to stretch him a little bit here, maybe change the job a little bit there, but this could be a good move for you. And that's what I know. So somebody said, what does a recruiter need to do? What I just described is what a recruiter needs to do to play in the passive candidate market. But you got so many tools to get in the game. Now you're playing the big leagues once you take advantage of these tools. I get excited about this stuff, man. Let me just say this. I'll turn it over to you and answer any questions. You got to perp your ERP. If I had to say anything, perp your ERP. Get auto-connected. Start the in-out process. And if you're not on Jobvite, at least connect with those people to find out what they've got. As a minimum, you know where the market's going. But I really believe Jobvite put more glue than I thought. I mean, I always thought it was pretty cool, but they got more glue in putting all this perping and virtual talent network together. If you're not willing to put in a compelling career message, don't even bother. It won't work. You'll just waste a lot of money and be frustrated and complain. Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. No, it doesn't work because you have a crummy job, which requires highly differentiated. Think about your workflow. Focus on the needs of the best people, and recognize you do need a recruiter-manager partnership. You do those things, you're going to become a world leader. From my standpoint, then I'm going to turn it over to you, Ann. I believe social media collectively is a phenomenal tool, but to me it's used improperly. It's just not thought about from a strategic standpoint. It's a subset, and a tremendous subset if used properly, of a full talent acquisition strategy. Early bird sourcing is part of that strategy, and social media can enhance you in that area. But you think about it, it's prereq sourcing. Hey, I got all these people who aren't looking, and I'm directly connected to them through an employee, and if I got compelling messages to drive through that distribution channel, I'm going to hit a home run. Virtual talent community, in-out prereq sourcing on steroids for passive candidates. But remember, quality of job, meaning that ad, drives the quality of the hire. If you'd like, this is about a half, this is not a big time, I have an offer. It's a 30 to 40-minute offer. We're not giving the farm away here, but if you're interested, we'll set up a meeting. First tell me your company. We'll take a quick look at it. We'll give you a report on where you stand on social media usage. We'll kind of roughly rank you from novice to, if you're a maven, send me and you give me the audit. But if you think, regardless, I'll be happy to take a look at what you guys are doing. It's not going to be a big time. We're going to do a real spot check. We'll just give you a guideline and say, hey, here's what we see where you're off and here's where you're on. That's our offer of the day. Info@Adler.com sets, just ask for the social media status report, as well as the Circle of Excellence corporate recruiter competency model. With that, I'm done, Ann. Let me turn it over to you, and then I'll hang around for any questions.
Well, great. While we switch over, Lou, there were several people who were asking basically the same question, so it's definitely one people want to have answered. Which companies are the ones that you feel are doing well on your continuum there, even if they aren't world leaders? What are some good progressive companies that we can learn from for research and benchmarking purposes?
I don't, actually, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, somebody would say Pepsi is, but Pepsi is Pepsi. They didn't need to. I mean, I know Chris Hunt, I guess. I know these guys. When you get a big brand, I don't see it's all that remarkable. So I can't say that. What I'd like to do, not that I can't, because I've looked around. I have, I think there's a lot of people doing interesting things. Microsoft is certainly doing some interesting things. LinkedIn, maybe LinkedIn is the one. Because we're doing a program next week for a company that just bought LinkedIn Recruiter. So I started using LinkedIn and doing a case study and comparing my company, which is, I don't want to say it's the World Bank, but it's like the World Bank. And I started looking at different companies. Microsoft is interesting, but it's Microsoft. I then went to LinkedIn, and I realized that LinkedIn is powered by Jobvite. So when I went to LinkedIn and I actually applied for a couple of jobs at LinkedIn, and I could see it working. So I would say LinkedIn, from my standpoint, is kind of doing it. And what did you say? I mean, you got companies, what would you say? Zynga, maybe? I don't know. What would you say from companies that you think?
Well, I'll jump in with another one, and that is Yelp. And I'll actually, given the questions, I think when we do the follow-up emails, we'll stick a URL to a recorded webcast that we did a few months ago with recruiters from Yelp. And I think
you send that to me too, because I think you told me that, but I didn't.
And
but I didn't quite pick it up. So yeah, I'll take a look at that. But that's a very fair question, and I guess in my mind, if you got the big employer brand, a lot of the stuff you do gets hidden because they get a bunch of people. So I don't know that I could honestly say the answer. So let's say Yelp and Yahoo, or LinkedIn for now. Excuse me, not Yahoo.
And we'll send that link out to this other webcast from Yelp, but I'll just use one example of why I think they're a model of what you're talking about in terms of perping your program, Lou, because they do a great job of really getting employees involved. And employees put a lot of thought and creativity into how they get their networks involved. On the webcast, they tell a story of one of their employees, and she was a recent graduate from college and did some work with her sorority. And so she just kind of took it upon herself to do kind of career opportunity counseling with the people in her sorority, and then gradually developed this referral network where she, did a session every so often with the people who were about to graduate, and this became kind of a whole referral pipeline for the company for their entry-level positions. And that's was just the effort of one employee. So I think they've kind of set up a great model to get people enthusiastic about it and then empower them to go out and get other people who are going to be natural fits for the job to come on in and get engaged with the company.
Well, I think you're right there. Now, let me just say this. I think it always starts with one or two leaders. It's never, that's why I say you can't think about scaling this out through the whole company. I think you got to scale it out through a few people who are leaders like this woman you said from her sorority, where she just pushed it out there. And then you get a few of those, and you get case studies, and you build upon that and build the workflow. So to me, that seems to be very consistent with what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, it helps other people imagine what they can do, I think. Well, I'll just jump in and talk a little bit about Jobvite. We're thrilled to sponsor the webcast today because I know everyone loves to get these really concrete examples that they can go out and start using right away, Lou. And what we're offering at Jobvite, if you're familiar with us, is the technology platform that can really underlie a lot of these efforts that we're talking about in terms of key strategies for developing your talent community. And this is a platform for the social web that we've built to do all the key business functions that you need in recruiting and be integrated into the social network where you're trying to build these communities. And this platform has 4 key components. One is a social CRM and sourcing that you can really build that community in. The other is a complete applicant tracking system. And the viral social recruiting and real-time recruiting intelligence components are part of both of those, sourcing products and applicant tracking products. So you can come to the Jobvite platform and take a look at what it is your organization needs and pick the right product. If you are looking at the CRM and sourcing product, that is something that can integrate with an existing applicant tracking system. And we've talked a little bit about the Facebook app today, and that's really part of our broader set of technology for helping companies drive referral hires through whatever means their employees choose and they choose. So what's a Jobvite? A Jobvite is a job invitation. And what makes it powerful, as Lou said, is it's something the individual employees initiate and send and invite their networks to participate in. And that can come through Twitter, it can come through LinkedIn, or it can come through Facebook. and even email. People still do a lot with email. So the Jobvite platform is really enabling you to power your employee referral program in whatever way that works for your company. And Lou already did, better commentary than I can, I think, on our Facebook app. So I'll just let you know that that is a new, recently released part of our platform, and we would love to show it to you in more depth. As you mentioned, the workflow does continue on. Once someone makes that match with their friends, they can actually complete the entire application process on Facebook rather than going back out to another career site and going through a separate application process elsewhere. And since people spend so much time on Facebook, we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for them to network, complete an application, and even when they're done with that application, get information on the status of their application with the companies they've applied to get rid of that communications black hole. So it's a very full-featured application that we'd love to show people in more depth. And there'll be information, of course, from Jobvite about that, and we invite you to come and see how you can really apply it to referral hiring at your company. And this driving increased referral hiring is something that Jobvite's been very dedicated to creating technology for, and you can see some of the stats in front of you about how well that's working for our customers. People who are recruiting with the Jobvite platform over time are continually increasing their rate of referral hiring, and they're seeing a very high quality of candidates come through. Typically, we see 1% of all applicants hired on the Jobvite platform, but 10% of referral applicants hired, which speaks to the quality that Lou was referencing in terms of how you want to go about your sourcing capabilities. We're just coming up on the end of the hour.
I bet that would jump to 20% if they were perked.
I bet it would too, and we do see some higher rates than that, absolutely, and we're always trying to get that higher. So I think everything that Lou has said today is something that you can take out and drive those referral rates much higher. We would invite you to connect with us in whatever way you would like to, and want to thank you so much, Lou, for providing a great webcast today.
Great, it was fun. Thank you, everybody.